All right, here we are with 5 different washers, all the same size 8. We got nickel here, ready to go, brass, ready to go, and then these 3 are with kind of on their own separate comparison here. All zinc, just smoothed edges, split washers, external teeth. Internal teeth. Let's see what it sounds like. All right, here we are testing out all the different washers. Here we have 3 zinc. One of them has just a round surface. The other 2, one is external teeth, externally facing teeth, internally facing teeth. So those are all zinc, and it's all with the same bolt. So the same size bolt and everything. So let's hear what they sound like. Here's the rounded one. External teeth. Internal teeth. External teeth. Rounded. I like this one the best personally. External teeth I most prefer for its rattling consistency. It's a very light rattle, almost like a brush sort of, like fine-tuned, like finely tuned rattling, like not quite so heavy, but consistent. This is actually really nice too. The internally facing teeth are really nice. So the teeth really do make a positive difference. They sound good. The rounded off washer is pretty nice too. For staccato playing, interesting differences between the external versus internal. Okay, and moving on, here are some options for, let's see here, there's nickel here, and brass here. So brass versus nickel, and I'm comparing these because they're just different size than these, so they won't sound the same or anything. So it's kind of its own thing. And I realize these washers, it really is different based on which way it faces. So the rounded side is facing up here, rounded side facing up here, and then rounded side facing down here, rounded side facing down. So it's brass facing down, brass facing up, and then here we have nickel facing down, nickel facing up. So let's see what it sounds like. There's the brass. Here's the nickel. So just right away, in terms of the rounded part facing up or down, the rattling continues for much longer with the rounded side facing up. And it's actually pretty variable. It's not always the same amount of time, but it's way longer than the other way around, where it's just almost like you don't even hear the note anymore. You almost just hear the string itself, the unprepared string mostly, quite soon after you play. Staccato wouldn't matter quite as much. So it depends obviously on how you want to play the notes, what would come out. In terms of just comparing the two materials, brass versus nickel here, so the nickel is lighter in terms of the sound. I don't know anything about stuff other than music and sound. But so the sound is lighter. And versus the brass has a little heavierness to it. I don't know if this, heaviness or weight is even the right thing to be describing this, but it might have something to do with how tight these are. No, they're about the same. Oh, there's a little more tightness. No, actually, it's hard to tell. They look about the same. So maybe it's not that. Maybe it really is just the nature of the metal. So anyway, the nickel does have a lightness to it. It just feels like it can bounce more. Maybe bounciness is the better way to explain it. Oops, sometimes if you saw that, this thing just jumped up and stayed where it was. So that's another side note, is that these things, the problem with these washers, and sometimes it's nice to have some kind of way of propping it higher off the strings a little bit, or I don't know, then it won't rattle. So I'm not really sure, but it hits the string next to it. It hits the note next to it. So the problem is these 3 strings are all for this one note, which is great. But if you see, it's grazing this string. Of course, it doesn't do it now. Actually, you know what? It's harder. It's worse for when you have to have the bulb side facing up. It tends to touch other strings more easily. Anyway, all these things are interesting to me. Hopefully they're interesting to you too. Okay, a quick review of these experiments with different washers. There's 2 for each nickel and brass because I tested both round side facing up versus round side facing down. Sunny side up, sunny side down, I guess you could think of it like. And yeah, the sunny side up was really nice, but it also can graze other strings. The nickel was my favorite, I guess, between brass versus nickel because it had a bouncy lightness to it, but they both sounded great. And then for comparing the teeth, and external teeth and internal teeth versus split washers, all zinc, I felt that the external tooth one was particularly nice. It rattled around really well. It stayed very close to the string that's supposed to be on, so that's nice too, the accuracy of it. And it just kind of flutters around and then falls back into place. It kind of spins too, so it has this sort of like capability of producing a lot of really interesting brushy sounds, like very light metal hitting metal, like a metal brush or something. And then this was also very good too, but I particularly liked external tooth zinc washer. One side note though, when I was taking this out, it kind of hurts. Like these are sharp-ish parts, so you can't really squeeze and twist or pull gently in the same way with external tooth washers. So that's something to be aware of too, just an extra factor.